So today we're going through and explaining every Logia Devil Fruit in One Piece, and we'll also be ranking them from the weakest to the undisputed strongest Logia Devil Fruit in the entire series. And a quick disclaimer, for the sake of this video we're going to scale them based on the usefulness of that fruit and the strength it can bring to its user. So if I hypothetically say that Crocodile has a better / stronger fruit than the likes of Akainu, that's basically me just saying it's more versatile and useful in the overall world of One Piece, rather than me just saying this character can beat that character in a fight, because honestly power scaling in One Piece is potentially the worst thing in existence. So without wasting any more of your time, let's get right into today's very controversial video. Up first, we have the weakest Logia Devil Fruit in One Piece. It's the Toro no Mi, or the liquid Devil Fruit that was last seen in Honey Queen's possession. This is a non-canon Logia Devil Fruit that offers you the ability to create, control, and transform into an unidentified liquid at will. And at first that may sound kind of powerful, but it's actually seen to be one of the weakest fruits in all of One Piece, with one of its only strengths being the ability to flow through small spaces and gaps. However, the user actually has no physical strength when in liquid form, and cannot transform back to their normal form if the space they are in cannot fit their normal body. This is a similar effect that the Swamp Fruit also has, but we'll be coming back to that in just a minute. The liquid fruit also forces you to undress before you can transform, which is a very unique aspect even for Logia users. But up next we have the weakest canon Logia Devil Fruit in the series. It's the Snow Fruit that was last seen in Monet's possession. This fruit is now out in the world somewhere with an unknown user given the death that befell her at the hands of Caesar Clown. This fruit offers you all the basic capabilities of a Logia Devil Fruit and even grants you an immunity to cold. But that's about all it offers in terms of positives, because her attacks can be stopped if her body is broken before the attack has a chance to land on its intended target. And not only that, but she also has an incredible weakness to even the slightest heat-based abilities, as seen when Nami was able to use her Climatex Heat Egg to greatly damage her wing. She could also lose complete control of her body's transformations if she becomes mentally unstable, as seen when Sora cut her in half, which resulted in a fear and anxiety at the thought of her approaching death. Other than that, she was also vulnerable to all the standard Devil Fruit weaknesses such as Sea Stone and Hockey. But quickly moving on, we have number 12, the Swamp Fruit, currently in Caribou's possession. This fruit is incredibly weak when compared to the other Devil Fruits in One Piece, but it isn't actually completely useless. It's just more suited to a support type fruit rather than a combat based one. For example, with its ability to store a seemingly unlimited amount of anything within it, it makes it the perfect support fruit for someone like Luffy, who requires a continuous amount of food to stay in Gear 5, which is also why many believe he'd be the perfect new member of the Straw Hat crew. But I personally think that position is more suited to the person I talk about in this video, which you can find linked in the description. The Swamp Fruit, while being the perfect support fruit, also has attacking capability as well, such as the ability to create a bottomless swamp that is not only impossible to escape from, but it's also capable of drowning you as well. But like the liquid fruit that we just mentioned earlier, it has an incredibly inconvenient weakness, being that the user is unable to transform back to normal when in a space that is smaller than their base form, which is why he was easily captured and stored in a barrel on the Straw Hat ship for quite some time. And up next we have a fruit that has only ever been seen in the One Piece movie 4, Dead End Adventure. It's the Ami no Mi, or candy fruit. This fruit allows the user to transform into a green colored candy syrup. The user of this fruit has a great resistance to all physical attacks, and in fact if you even tried to hit him with a standard attack, his body would just absorb the impact and even take away your blade. And despite the fact that he is made completely of syrup, it seems as though he is inedible, as seen when Luffy tried to use his strongest attribute, his stomach, to contain him, only to then be forced to spit him out almost immediately. It should also be noted that the biggest weakness of this fruit appears to be flour, as when he comes into contact with it he loses all stickiness and is made vulnerable to all physical attacks. But quickly moving on, we have our number 10 pick, the Smoke fruit that is currently in the hands of Smoker. This fruit allows Smoker the ability to fly and capture opponents in a cloud of smoke. It is also the power that granted him the name the White Hunter, which aside from the obvious racist jokes that can come from that, it's still one of the coolest nicknames in the entire series. This fruit grants him an incredible physical durability as well as a crazy increase in speed, which he then uses to add power to his already incredibly strong Hockey infused punches. And other than fruits like the Mera no Mi cancelling out the Smoke fruit's ability, it has no real weakness outside the standard Devil Fruit weaknesses as of right now. But up next we have Crocodile's Logia Devil Fruit, the Sansan fruit. And this fruit is honestly one of the hardest fruits to rank on this list, given the versatility and usefulness it has in many situations, but also because of the many great weaknesses that surround it as of right now. Like against 90% of the One Piece verse, Crocodile is borderline unbeatable, but against people like Luffy, Ace, Sabo, Akainu, and even Enel, he is pretty much worthless. Let me explain. You see, his abilities are extremely dangerous, especially when in a desert environment like Alabasta, because here he can create sandstorms, sinkholes, and even drain you of all your bodily fluids. But his power to become sand itself would work against him if he was ever to fight near a pool of water, or if he met someone who had heat-related abilities, such as Ace or Sabo. Because when he is heated to a certain point, his sand would become glass and essentially make him powerless, as well as extremely fragile. So while I do like Crocodile and his abilities, his many weaknesses forced me to put him at the number 9 position for now. But moving on, we have a fruit that I briefly mentioned earlier. It's the Mera Mera no Mi, or Flare Flare fruit, that was once in the hands of Ace and is now in the hands of his brother Sabo. This fruit is a fruit that I believe will one day become the hottest devil fruit in One Piece, but we'll come back to that in just a bit. First, let me explain just what this fruit allows you to do. So aside from allowing you to create, control, and become fire itself, you also have the power to unleash devastating fire-based attacks, such as Ace's signature move, the Hiken, which is an attack that turns your fist into flames and launches a dense column of fire at your target. This attack is so incredibly powerful that he was able to plow through several ships in one shot. But this fruit isn't just limited to large-scale AoE attacks, as seen when Ace used his Jujutsu attack on Blackbeard. This attack allows you to shoot a column of fire at a target with pinpoint accuracy, and although it was seen to be weaker than the Magu Magu no Mi in Marineford, I do believe this will soon change when Sabo achieves an awakening, which I believe will turn his standard colored flames into blue flames, which are the hottest type of flame out there. You see, the blue flames have been known to reach and exceed 2300 degrees Fahrenheit, while magma typically only ranges around 1300 to 2400 degrees Fahrenheit, meaning if Sabo achieves the blue flame, he will be much hotter than the standard magma ability that Aki Inu has. But what do you guys think? Will Sabo achieve the blue flames and turn Aki Inu into a donut like his brother? Tell me down below. But now moving on, we have the most toxic Logia Devil Fruit in One Piece. It's the Gas fruit that was last seen in the hands of Caesar Clown. This fruit and its abilities are incredibly strong, and in any other world it would claim the spot as the strongest abilities ever. But in the world of One Piece, it's just another strong power with a less than ideal user. You see, this fruit can create, control, and turn you into a cloud of toxic gas that can even remove all oxygen from an entire room. The gas also appears to be highly explosive when set alight, which allows Caesar Clown to create controlled explosions without even harming himself. Though it does need to be noted that the gas appears to be weak against fire, although this is mitigated by the user's ability to minimize oxygen levels in a surrounding area. Also, given the limited range that comes with Caesar's abilities, he is very vulnerable to longer ranged attacks. So even though I strongly rate this devil fruit and its abilities, I just don't see it beating the other users yet to come. So with that said, let's move on to the forest fruit that is currently in the hands of Admiral Greenbull. And although many are quick to discredit him and his abilities because of him fleeing from Shanks back in Wano, I still believe him to be one of the strongest characters in the entire series. It's like I always say, running from Shanks that day was incredibly smart and not in any way cowardly. Because think about it, he was outmanned and out-hockeyed compared to Shanks and the red-haired pirates. But aside from that, he also has one of the strongest Logia Devil Fruits in the entire series as well. Because the forest fruit offers a wide range of AoE attacks, as well as being incredibly durable against most of the other powers in the series. And even though the forest has the obvious weakness to fire, he has trained himself to become resistant against most fire-based attacks. And as of right now, with his resistance against most fire-based abilities, the only weakness that he appears to have are the standard devil fruit weaknesses that all users have, which is a big reason why I consider him extremely underrated and in need of more respect. But speaking of respect, let's discuss one of the most respected devil fruits in the entire series, the Ice fruit that is currently in Kuzan's possession. This fruit has an incredibly wide variety of abilities and really makes him one of the most dangerous characters in the entire series. And although you think this fruit to be the inferior one to Sabo's fire fruit, they actually were seen to cancel each other out when Kuzan fought against Ace back in Marineford. This fruit and its user were seen to not only have the ability to go toe-to-toe against Garp and Hachinosu, but also have the ability to beat him and leave him completely frozen in a solid block of ice. And as of right now, the only person to have ever beaten Kuzan and his ice powers has been Aki Inu and his magma fruit, but we'll be discussing that a bit later on in the video. For now, just note that this fruit, in my opinion, has one of the highest skill ceilings in the entire series, and could one day be moved to a higher position on this list. But for now, let's move on to the fastest fruit in One Piece, the light fruit that is currently in Kizaru's possession. This fruit grants him the power to become and control beams of light, which also grants him the power to move at the speed of light as well as cause massive explosions with a mere finger. He also has the power to create identical clones that he can then use to attack his enemies. And honestly, the biggest weakness that comes from this fruit just has to be its user, as Kizaru has no real ambition or desire outside of simply following orders. As he has said himself, he is simply a cog in a machine. And I would also like to express that in the right hands, this fruit could be the strongest Logia fruit in all of One Piece, but in Kizaru's hands, it barely makes it into our number 4 slot. But now for the first of our top 3 Logia Devil Fruits in One Piece, it's the Magu Magu no Mi, currently in the hands of the Navy Fleet Admiral Aki Inu. This fruit has been stated to be the most destructive Devil Fruit in the entire series, and also offers its user an incredible defensive ability that could rival even Kaido's. With this fruit, Aki Inu was able to beat Kuzan in a 1v1 on Punk Hazard, which is also how he gained his Fleet Admiral position in the Navy. With this fruit, he can unleash devastating lava-based attacks that can melt almost anything in its path. And if you are stupid enough to attempt to strike the user of this fruit, your own body would end end up severely injured and burned. And things such as swords and guns were even shown to melt when coming in contact with Aki Inu, meaning he's a complete monster built almost completely for destruction. So who could we have possibly put above him? Well, the man and his fruit that I have at our number 2 position is going to be extremely controversial for some. But once I explain why I have him at number 2, I hope you begin to understand where I'm coming from and potentially even agree with my decision. It's the darkness fruit that is currently in the hands of One Piece's final villain, Blackbeard. Now I know many claim this fruit to be on the same level, if not even slightly above, the Nika fruit that Luffy has. But honestly, I see this fruit as incredibly limited and also forces the need for multiple devil fruits. Because on its own, I really don't see it bringing someone like Blackbeard to his Yonko position. Like take its strongest ability for example, the nullification of other devil fruits. This ability for one requires you to remain in contact with your enemy at all times for the effect to work. So if your opponent has incredible speed or a wide range attack power, then you actually can't do a lot against him. It also requires Blackbeard to time his block and nullification to near perfection to actually absorb the attack, which when faced against somebody who can unleash a number of wide range attacks at a single moment, it is next to impossible for him to block them all. Which is also what leads us into why our number 1 pick is what and who it is. Because the potential for this character to completely speed blitz Blackbeard is just too high for me to honestly put him anywhere but above him. It's the God of Lightning, Enel. Now before you all rush to the comments and say L list or any of the other many insults that you clever people have come up with, allow me to explain how a fight between Enel and Blackbeard could actually go down. First, the potential for either of these to win is actually extremely high and honestly comes down to very minor factors, such as if Enel uses his incredible range, which has been seen to extend across entire islands, he could easily just unleash constant blasts of lightning which completely obliterate Blackbeard before he could even do anything to stand a chance of winning. But then given Enel's arrogance, the outcome where he slips up and allows Blackbeard to get a hold of him is actually incredibly high. And in this scenario, with his devil fruit powers removed, Enel, who's incredibly reliant on his powers to fight, would actually lose almost instantly. So for the sake of this video, we're going to decide which is the better Logia Devil Fruit by means of usefulness in the overall world of One Piece, which in my opinion has to go to the fruit that was actually said to be the invincible devil fruit, which is Enel's lightning devil fruit. But now with all that out of the way, you tell me your list down below. And if you disagree with any of the rankings in today's video, please tell me why and how the list should have gone. And also, if you're interested in seeing every Panda Man location in the One Piece anime, click the first link in the description. But with that, that's going to do it for me in this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and peace.